First Contact's ultimatum. The message arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning, interrupting breakfast broadcasts and holoscreens worldwide. The Kraxan Empire's transmission cut through Earth's most secure channels with ease, their superior technology making our best encryption look like child's play. On millions of screens, the alien commander appeared, tall, angular, with iridescent scales that shifted colors in the light. People of Earth, the creature's translated voice resonated with artificial precision. Your rapid technological advancement has been deemed a threat to galactic stability. The Kraxan Empire hereby demands your immediate surrender and submission to our authority. You have 48 Earth hours to comply or face complete extinction. In the United Nations Emergency Council chamber, Commander Sarah Chen watched the transmission with an expression that might have been more appropriate for watching a comedy show. She tucked a strand of graying hair behind her ear and reached for her coffee, taking a slow, deliberate sip. "Ma'am," her aide whispered urgently, "shouldn't we begin emergency protocols?" Sarah set down her cup with a soft clink. "Tell me, Lieutenant, have you ever seen those old videos of small dogs barking at their own reflections?" The aide blinked in confusion. "I don't follow, Commander." "They puff themselves up, make all sorts of noise, thinking they're intimidating something far more dangerous than themselves." She stood, straightening her uniform. "But really, they're just making fools of themselves." Across the globe, humanity's response to the threat was anything but fearful. In New Delhi, street vendors added Kraxan Special to their menus. Extra spicy dishes that would make aliens cry. Times Square in New York erupted with impromptu street parties, complete with hastily made alien costumes. In Lagos, comedians took to social media with impersonations of the Kraxan commander, mocking their formal speech patterns and rigid posture. Within hours, #KraxanCom8ME was trending worldwide, accompanied by millions of memes and jokes. The internet had found its new favorite thing to ridicule, and humanity's collective response was turning into the biggest party Earth had seen in decades. But beneath the laughter and celebration, Sarah Chen was orchestrating something unprecedented. In secure facilities around the world, she had already begun implementing what she called Operation Cosmic Chaos, a military strategy so absurd that it just might work against an enemy that expected conventional warfare. "The Kraxan Empire has existed for 10,000 years," she explained to the UN Security Council. "They've conquered countless civilizations using the same predictable tactics. But you know what they've never faced?" She grinned. "TikTok dancers coordinating battlefield maneuvers." Initially, there were skeptics. Traditional military leaders balked at her proposals to integrate social media influencers into combat training, to use viral marketing techniques in space warfare, to turn Earth's apparent technological inferiority into an advantage through sheer unpredictability. "With all due respect, Commander," General Williams interrupted during one briefing, "this isn't a game. We're facing an advanced alien civilization." "Exactly," Sarah replied, pulling up a holographic display. "And that's precisely why we'll win. The Kraxan expect us to either surrender or respond with conventional military tactics. They've conquered worlds that way for millennia. But they've never faced a species that turned their ultimatum into a global meme within hours." In orbital facilities, Earth's defense forces began implementing Sarah's unconventional strategies. Warships were painted in bright, almost garish colors. Combat pilots trained in maneuvers inspired by street dance battles. Military communications incorporated internet slang and memes, creating a language that would be nearly impossible for the Kraxan to decrypt, not because of technical complexity, but because of cultural incomprehension. As the 48-hour deadline approached, Earth made its official response. Rather than a formal diplomatic message, they'd broadcast a globally choreographed dance video, with millions of humans performing the same routine simultaneously. The dance ended with a unified message: "Sorry, we don't speak ultimatum. How about a dance battle instead?" The Kraxan's response was predictable. They launched their first attack within hours. But as their sleek, geometric warships entered the solar system, they found something they'd never encountered in their millennia of conquest: a defending force that treated interstellar warfare like a viral social media challenge. Earth's ships emerged from behind Mars, their hulls decorated with memes and pop culture references. Instead of traditional formation flying, they moved in patterns reminiscent of flash mobs. The Kraxen's initial scans couldn't make sense of it. There seemed to be no logic, no military doctrine behind the humans' positioning. "They're not even taking this seriously," the Kraxen commander hissed to his subordinates. "This insult will not stand." But Sarah Chen, watching from her command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, knew better. "The greatest insult to power," she murmured, "is to laugh at it. And humans? We've been laughing at power since we first learned to tell jokes." As the first shots were fired in what would become known as the Great Meme War, Earth's defenders proved that sometimes the best way to fight an overwhelmingly superior force was to change the rules of engagement entirely. The Kraxen had expected either surrender or a desperate last stand. Instead, they got a species that turned their extinction-level threat into history's biggest inside joke. And this was just the beginning. As the first battles erupted in the outer solar system, humanity was about to show the galaxy that sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't superior technology or military might. It's the ability to laugh in the face of extinction and turn that laughter into a force that could reshape the cosmos itself. Operation Mockingbird. The first battle of the war unfolded like nothing the galaxy had ever witnessed. As the Kraxen warships advanced in their perfect geometric formations, Earth's defenders responded with what appeared to be absolute chaos. Ships painted in neon colors darted between asteroids, their movements synchronized to Earth's most popular dance tracks. "Status report," Commander Sarah Chen demanded, watching the holographic battle display from her underground command center. "The Kraxen are confused, Mom," her tactical officer replied, trying to suppress a grin. "Their formations keep trying to adapt to our movements, but they can't predict our patterns because, well, there aren't any." Sarah nodded, satisfaction evident in her expression. "You can't counter what you can't comprehend. And right now, we're giving them a masterclass in human chaos theory." The Kraxen fleet's sophisticated targeting systems struggled to lock onto Earth vessels that moved like dancers in a cosmic freestyle battle. Each human ship operated independently yet somehow in perfect harmony with the others, their movements defying traditional military doctrine. On the Kraxen flagship, Supreme Commander Vexthor was experiencing something entirely new to his species: a stress headache. "This is impossible," he growled, watching another precision strike miss its target as the human vessel spun away in what appeared to be a space-adapted breakdance move. "They're making a mockery of warfare itself." But that was precisely the point. Operation Mockingbird, as Sarah had dubbed it, wasn't just about avoiding enemy fire. It was psychological warfare on an unprecedented scale. Every human ship broadcasted on open frequencies, filling Kraxen communications with Earth music, memes, and running commentary that sounded more like sports announcers than military personnel. "And there goes the Jakarta dancer with a perfect moonwalk maneuver," one pilot announced gleefully as his ship narrowly avoided a Kraxen energy beam. The judges give it a solid 9.5. The human fleet's apparent disregard for military protocol was driving the Kraxen tactical AI systems into computational loops. Their strategic algorithms, refined over thousands of years of conventional warfare, simply couldn't process an enemy that treated space combat like a viral video challenge. But beneath the seeming chaos, Sarah's strategy was working perfectly. While the Kraxen focused on trying to impose order on the battlefield, human ships were systematically analyzing their weapons, defenses, and tactical responses. Every joke, every seemingly random maneuver was gathering crucial intelligence. "They're expecting us to eventually run out of energy," Sarah explained to her command staff. "To tire of the game and fall back on conventional tactics. That's what every species they conquered has done. But they don't understand something fundamental about humans. We can keep a joke running for generations. As if to prove her point, Earth's social media networks had transformed the ongoing space battle into the galaxy's biggest entertainment event. Civilian satellites streamed the combat footage with added commentary and special effects. Meme creators worked overtime, turning every Kraxan tactical mistake into viral content that spread faster than their ships could move. The Kraxan Empire's attempts to jam Earth's communications only made things worse. Humans responded by developing an entirely new language of GIFs and emojis, coordinating complex military maneuvers through what appeared to be nonsensical strings of images and symbols. They've developed some kind of coded communication system, a Kraxan intelligence officer reported frantically. But it makes no sense. It's just pictures of cats and something called SpongeBob repeated in varying patterns. 3 days into the battle, the Kraxan fleet was in disarray. Their rigid command structure was crumbling in the face of an enemy that refused to fight properly. Ships designed for formation combat found themselves isolated and surrounded by dancing human vessels that struck with precise coordination despite appearing completely disorganized. But Sarah Chen knew they couldn't rely on confusion tactics forever. In her private quarters, she reviewed the data their chaotic performance had gathered. The Kraxans' technology was indeed superior, their weapons more powerful, their shields more advanced. Yet they were inflexible, bound by traditions and protocols that had served them well against conventional opponents, but left them vulnerable to humanity's adaptability. Time for Phase 2, she announced to her staff. We've shown them our dance moves. Now let's show them our jazz. The next stage of Operation Mockingbird would transform the solar system into humanity's home court advantage. Every piece of space debris, every asteroid, every quirk of planetary gravity would become part of Earth's defense strategy. The Kraxan had expected to find a primitive species cowering before their superior technology. Instead, they found themselves in a battle where their very advantages were being turned against them by an enemy that refused to acknowledge their superiority. As Sarah activated the next phase of her plan, she remembered something her grandmother used to say. The moment you start taking yourself too seriously is the moment you start losing. The Kraxan Empire, with its 10,000 years of rigid tradition, was about to learn this lesson the hard way. The war was far from over, but humanity had already achieved something unprecedented. They had made the galaxy's most feared empire look ridiculous, and in doing so, they had revealed a truth that would reshape galactic society. Sometimes the most powerful force in the universe isn't technology or military might, but the ability to adapt, improvise, and most importantly, laugh in the face of overwhelming odds. The Quantum Joker. Dr. Maya Patel stood in her underground laboratory, staring at what looked like a disco ball having an identity crisis. The sphere pulsed with quantum energies, its surface shifting between states of matter in a way that shouldn't have been possible. She discovered it by accident while trying to develop new communication systems for Earth's dancing warships. Commander Chen needs to see this immediately, she muttered, not taking her eyes off the device. We've accidentally invented something impossible. Within hours, Sarah Chen stood in the lab, watching the sphere with the same expression she'd worn when first hearing the Kraxan's ultimatum, somewhere between amusement and revelation. Explain it to me again, Dr. Patel, but this time pretend I'm not a quantum physicist. Maya grinned. You know how we've been driving the Kraxan crazy with our unpredictable movements. Well, this device makes unpredictability into a science. It exists in multiple states simultaneously, not just physically, but temporally. It's like Schrödinger's cat decided to throw a party and invited all possible versions of itself. And this helps us how? Sarah asked, though her smile suggested she was already seeing the possibilities. Their entire technology is based on predictability. Quantum calculations so precise they can map the movement of every particle in space. But this? Maya gestured to the sphere. This device literally cannot be predicted, its randomness given physical form. Sarah's smile widened. We've invented quantum chaos. The implementation of what they dubbed the quantum joker began immediately. Earth's ships were fitted with smaller versions of Maya's device, each one generating its own bubble of quantum uncertainty. To the Kraxen's sophisticated sensors, human vessels now appeared to exist in multiple places simultaneously, their movements defying the laws of physics as understood by the Empire's scientists. The effect on the battlefield was immediate and devastating. Kraxen targeting systems, unable to determine the true position of any human ship, began firing at phantom images. Their fleet formations, designed to counter conventional attacks, found themselves shooting at shadows while real Earth vessels slipped through their defenses. This is impossible. Vex Thor raged on his flagship's bridge, watching another barrage of precision weapons pass harmlessly through what had appeared to be a human cruiser. Their technology is inferior. They cannot be doing this. But they were. And worse, from the Kraxen perspective, the humans had turned their technological breakthrough into yet another joke. Each quantum shadow generated by the devices displayed different memes, creating a cosmic-like show of Earth's internet culture that was as psychologically devastating as it was tactically brilliant. In the rings of Saturn, the largest battle of the war so far was unfolding. The Kraxen had committed a third of their total fleet, determined to crush Earth's resistance through sheer force of numbers. Instead, they found themselves in what one human pilot described as the biggest game of quantum tag ever played. Earth's ships, their movements now enhanced by the quantum joker devices, danced through the ice and rock of Saturn's rings. Each vessel projected multiple quantum shadows, turning the majestic rings into a maze of false signals and impossible movements. The Kraxen fleet, trying to maintain their rigid formations, found themselves tangled in their own targeting solutions. "They still don't get it," Sarah observed from her command center. "They're fighting the last war, using tactics that worked against enemies who played by their rules. But we're not playing their game. We're changing the nature of the game itself." The battle in Saturn's rings became known as the Disco Inferno, a name that made perfect sense to humans and completely baffled the Kraxen. Earth's ships, glittering with quantum reflections and trailing memes in their wake, turned one of the solar system's most beautiful features into a battlefield that doubled as performance art. But the true genius of the quantum joker wasn't just military. The devices were affecting something far more fundamental than the outcome of battles. They were forcing the Kraxen to confront a reality they had never considered, that their understanding of the universe, built over thousands of years of empirical observation and conquest, might not be as complete as they thought. In her lab, Maya watched the data streams from the battle with satisfaction. "You know what's really funny?" she said to her team. "We discovered this by accident while trying to figure out how to make our ships dance better. The greatest breakthrough in quantum physics, and it came from trying to choreograph space warfare. The implications went beyond the current conflict. Other species across the galaxy, watching Earth's quantum-enhanced ships run circles around the mighty Kraxen fleet, began to question long-held assumptions about technological development. If humans could achieve this through their chaotic, seemingly illogical approach to science, what other possibilities had the galaxy's older civilizations missed by adhering to conventional wisdom? As the battle for Saturn's rings reached its climax, with Kraxen ships retreating in disarray, Sarah Chen received a priority message from Earth's deep space monitoring stations. Other alien civilizations, inspired by humanity's resistance, were beginning to challenge Kraxen authority in their own sectors. The Empire's aura of invincibility had been shattered not just by military defeats, but by the revelation that their rigid adherence to tradition had become their greatest weakness. "Send a message to all Earth forces," Sarah commanded. "Operation Quantum Disco is a success. Prepare for Phase 4. We're taking this party to their house." The war was entering a new phase, and humanity's quantum-enhanced laughter was about to echo across the galaxy. The Kraxen Empire had wanted to extinguish the human spirit. Instead, they had helped unleash it in ways that would reshape the understanding of reality itself. Breaking the Empire. The Kraxan High Council chamber, once a symbol of unquestioned authority, had descended into chaos. Holographic displays showed scenes that would have been unthinkable months ago. Kraxan youth imitating human dances, colonial worlds broadcasting Earth entertainment, and even some military units adopting colorful modifications to their strictly regulated uniforms. Supreme Commander Vexthor stood before the council, his scales dulled with stress. "The humans aren't just defeating our fleets," he reported, his voice heavy. "They're doing something far worse. They're making us irrelevant." The council chamber erupted in angry shouts and accusations. 10,000 years of tradition were unraveling, and no one could agree on how to stop it. The Empire had faced military defeats before, but this was different. Humanity wasn't just winning battles, they were winning hearts and minds across the galaxy. Meanwhile, aboard the Earth flagship Eternal Punchline, Commander Sarah Chen was reviewing reports from across Kraxan space. The strategy she dubbed Operation Cultural Chaos was exceeding all expectations. Earth's entertainment networks, initially broadcast as a form of psychological warfare, had found an enthusiastic audience among the Empire's younger generations. "They're calling it the Human Revolution," her intelligence officer reported. "Kraxan youth are rejecting traditional hierarchies. They're organizing flash mobs in government centers, using memes to mock imperial propaganda. And some are even attempting to replicate our quantum technology with their own unique modifications." Sarah couldn't help but laugh. They spent centuries building walls to keep their empires secure, never realizing that the greatest threat wouldn't come from weapons, but from TikTok dances and cat videos. The impact was spreading beyond the Kraxan Empire. Other species, long intimidated by Kraxan military might, were watching Earth's example with growing interest. The Xylaxians, known for their sophisticated artistic culture, were the first to openly declare support for Earth. Their announcement came in the form of a galaxy-wide art installation that transformed the visual data of human battle tactics into abstract-like sculptures. The Merith, a species of feline-like merchants who had always played both sides in galactic conflicts, began mass-producing human-style entertainment systems. Soon, Kraxan warships were detecting their own crews secretly watching Earth broadcasts during duty hours. But the most significant blow to the Empire came from within. A group of young Kraxan scientists, inspired by Dr. Maya Patel's quantum breakthroughs, published a revolutionary paper titled "The Advantages of Chaos: A New Approach to Universal Understanding." The paper wasn't just a scientific treatise. It was a direct challenge to the Empire's fundamental philosophy of order and control. "The humans have demonstrated," the paper argued, "that unpredictability isn't a flaw to be eliminated, but a resource to be harnessed. Our empire's obsession with perfect order has blinded us to the creative potential of controlled chaos." The paper went viral across Kraxan networks, despite desperate attempts by Imperial censors to suppress it. Young Kraxan began organizing what they called chaos studies groups, meeting in secret to experiment with human-inspired approaches to science, art, and social organization. Sarah Chen, reading the paper in her quarters, recognized its significance immediately. "This is it," she told her staff. "The Empire isn't going to fall because we destroyed their fleets. It's going to fall because we showed them a better way to live." The Kraxan military, already struggling with the practical challenges of fighting Earth's quantum-enhanced forces, now faced a deeper crisis. Young officers were questioning traditional tactics, suggesting modifications based on human strategies. Some crews began decorating their ships with colorful patterns, claiming it improved morale and tactical unpredictability. In response, the Empire's leadership took drastic action. They announced a complete communication blackout with all colonial worlds, hoping to stem the tide of human cultural influence. The effect was exactly the opposite of what they intended. Cut off from official channels, Kraxan colonies began developing their own entertainment networks, mixing Earth styles with their own cultural traditions. Underground markets for Earth media sprang up everywhere, with human memes being traded like precious contraband. "They're trying to run their empire like they run their wars," Sarah observed, "with rigid control and absolute authority. But they're fighting against something they can't shoot or arrest. They're fighting against fun." The breaking point came during what became known as the Great Laughing Revolution. During a solemn imperial address, when the Kraxan Emperor was announcing new measures to combat human influence, someone in the crowd started laughing. The laughter spread, first through the assembly, then across the broadcast networks, and finally through the streets of the imperial capital itself. For a species that had always equated discipline with strength, the sound of their own laughter was revolutionary. It was as if 10,000 years of accumulated tension was finally being released. Sarah Chen, watching the broadcasts, understood that this was a victory more significant than any military triumph. "We didn't just teach them to laugh," she told her crew. "We taught them that it's okay to laugh at themselves. And that's the one thing no empire can survive." As the Kraxan Empire began to splinter, with colonies declaring independence and young Kraxan openly embracing human culture, Earth prepared for the final phase of the war. But it wasn't going to be fought with ships and weapons. The real battle had already been won in the hearts and minds of a generation that had learned to question, to create, and most importantly, to laugh. The galaxy was changing, and humanity's greatest weapon had turned out to be something the Kraxan had never considered a weapon at all: the infectious power of joy. Galaxy's new guardians. 1 year after the first Kraxan ultimatum, the galaxy had transformed in ways no one could have predicted. The mighty Kraxan Empire, which had stood for 10,000 years, hadn't fallen in fire and destruction as everyone expected. Instead, it had dissolved in a wave of laughter and revolution that changed the face of galactic civilization forever. Commander Sarah Chen stood before the newly formed Galactic Council, a body that would have been unthinkable under Kraxan rule. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the chamber, including several former Kraxan worlds that had chosen independence. But what really caught her eye was how they dressed. A mixture of traditional formal wear and human-inspired casual styles, some even sporting meme-based accessories. "The war is officially over," she announced, fighting to keep her face serious. "Though I suspect history will remember it less as a war and more as humanity's greatest practical joke." The chamber erupted in laughter, not the nervous kind that often accompanies diplomatic meetings, but genuine, unrestrained mirth. Even the Kraxan representatives, now part of the reformed Kraxan Republic, joined in. Their species had discovered that laughter didn't diminish their dignity, it enhanced it. Dr. Maya Patel's quantum joker technology had evolved far beyond its military origins. Scientists across the galaxy were using it to explore new frontiers in physics, art, and communication. The quantum uncertainty that had once confounded Kraxan targeting systems was now powering a revolution in entertainment, transportation, and even architecture. "We're calling it chaos engineering," Maya explained to a conference of multi-species scientists. "It turns out that when you embrace uncertainty instead of fighting it, whole new possibilities open up." The former Kraxan Empire had split into dozens of independent worlds, each developing its own unique blend of their ancient traditions and new human-inspired culture. Young Kraxan were particularly enthusiastic adopters of Earth's entertainment and fashion, though they added their own distinctive twists. Kraxan comedy shows became famous across the galaxy for combining their species' natural gravitas with absurdist human humor. But perhaps the most significant change was in how the galaxy approached conflict resolution. The newly established Terran Diplomatic Corps, led by Sarah Chen, introduced what they called the Laughter Protocol, a requirement that all serious diplomatic negotiations include elements of play and humor. "It's harder to maintain unreasonable positions when you're sharing jokes," Sarah explained to a group of diplomatic trainees, "and impossible to take yourself too seriously when you're wearing a novelty tie." The protocol seemed ridiculous to traditional diplomats at first, but its effectiveness was undeniable. Tensions that had simmered for centuries began to dissolve when species learned to laugh together. Earth's contribution to galactic civilization wasn't advanced technology or military might. It was teaching the galaxy how to not take itself so seriously. The original quantum joker device found a permanent home in the galaxy's Museum of Revolutionary Technologies, displayed alongside artifacts from other species' breakthrough moments. But unlike the other exhibits, this one was interactive. Visitors could experience the quantum uncertainty field for themselves, leading to what museum staff described as the most entertaining security challenges in the galaxy. Earth itself had changed too. Contact with alien civilizations had broadened human perspectives, but not at the cost of what made humanity unique. If anything, the war had helped humans understand their own strengths better. Cities now featured architecture that incorporated quantum uncertainty fields, creating buildings that playfully shifted form while remaining structurally sound. Earth's entertainment industry had gone interstellar, with human-alien collaboration producing entirely new art forms. Former Supreme Commander Vexthor, now a professor of human studies at the galaxy's premier university, published a best-selling book titled How to Laugh at the Void: Lessons from the Species That Memed an Empire to Death. In it, he wrote, "The humans didn't defeat us with superior firepower or technology. They defeated us by showing us that our greatest weakness was believing we couldn't have weaknesses." The Galactic Council session concluded with what had become a tradition, a moment of shared laughter, not forced or scheduled, but spontaneous and genuine. Representatives from across the galaxy, once bound by rigid protocols and ancient enmities, simply enjoying each other's company. As Sarah Chen left the council chamber, she passed a group of young aliens, a mix of species including several Kraxan, practicing Earth dance moves in the corridor. They weren't very good, but they were having the time of their lives. "You know what the best part is?" she remarked to her aide. "We didn't just win a war. We won the peace that came after. And we did it by being exactly who we are, a species that knows life is too important to be taken seriously all the time." The galaxy had learned that laughter wasn't just a human quirk, it was a powerful force for change. The stars themselves seemed brighter somehow, as if they too were sharing in the cosmic joke that had transformed civilization. Humanity had faced extinction and responded with humor, turning an empire's ultimatum into the setup for the greatest punchline in galactic history. And somewhere, in the quantum uncertainty fields that now connected worlds, the echo of that first defiant laugh still resonated, a reminder that sometimes the best way to face the darkness is to light it up with a smile.